Hi writers, it's Miss Leon. We are on to our next step of the writing process for our historical fiction. What we're going to be doing is we have created our possible plot lines. So your job now is to take one of those possible plot lines that you made from the other day, and you're going to choose which one that you want to use for your story. After you have chosen which plot line you are going to use for your story, we are going to then look at our scenes. And there's going to be 5 total scenes for your story. And you're like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? What is this scenes business? You have really already created your scenes. And here are the scenes that we have within our story. So that means there are 5 different parts of the story. So here are the parts that you have. All right, these 5 scenes that when you choose that specific storyline that you're using is the first one is the introduction to the character and their struggle. The second scene would be their attempt, what they're going to try to do to, solve their struggle or their problem. The third scene is the second attempt. The fourth scene is attempt 3. And the fifth scene would be the resolution or the solution to the struggle. And that's going to tell how the character changed or the lesson they learned. So what we need to do now is we need to do a little thing called showing versus telling.
Today you're going to learn a writing strategy called show, don't tell. Using this strategy, you can make your writing come to life in your reader's mind. Writing "he was happy" doesn't give your reader a clear idea of what your character is really feeling. You want to show them. Think about his face, his body, and his voice. Using show, don't tell, you can help your reader to really imagine the characters in each situation. Like this. Really try to visualize what your character looks and sounds like. His smile broadened from ear to ear. He clapped his hands together and jumped up and down with joy. He giggled and squealed with excitement. Now you are showing, not telling, your reader how your character is feeling. Let's try another one. Instead of telling your readers, "she was angry," show them. Again, think about the face, body, and voice. When a person is angry, how does their face look? Her cheeks turned red and her eyebrows narrowed. What does the rest of her body do? She clenched her fists and jammed them into her sides. How does her voice sound? She growled at me through clenched teeth. Now your reader can really picture how angry this character is, and your writing is coming to life. When you use the strategy show, don't tell, your writing will be more creative, engaging, and more lively. Your reader will love to imagine your story in their own imagination. So next time you're writing, remember to always show, don't tell.
So as I'm taking my notes, I'm going to make it very brief because this is just a mini lesson, but when you are actually doing your work, I would expect to see more. Like I would expect to see like a whole page worth, but because I'm just going through this really quick, I'm going to make it brief. But I have chosen my character as Abigail. Out of all the possible characters I had, I chose Abigail. And I'm going to show you her face. And in our example, it gave you different kind of facial features and expressions. When we did this earlier this year, we talked about Sistine as a character, and her eyes were pointed, and she had a narrow look in her eyes, and she had a little hand on, just a scowl on her face. Her body, she always had her hands on her hips. Her voice, she was very sassy and very short with people, just very direct and not always nice. So you need to think about your character. What do you want their face to look like? Like what kind of expressions will they have on their face? What will their actions with their body? And what will their voice sound like? How will they speak? Like if I talk about myself, my voice is very loud. You can hear it very easily. It's very direct. My face can sometimes be silly and also sometimes serious. And my body is, I move around a lot. So we're going to think about our character in doing this. And I'm going to write a few details about my character, Abigail. Okay, in my time period, I have to create a character that's realistic. I can't have them be like a me or a Sistine. Women were typically not as outspoken as we were, but my character Abigail is her face is serious, but her eyes are open and they're always watching. Her body, she's always busy working. She's constantly doing things. She is a good listener. She is watching people very closely as she's working, as she's in the market buying things, she's watching people, looking closely. And her voice, she's very polite, she has good manners. When she's speaking to people, she says sir or ma'am or madam. So this is kind of how our character sounds. The next thing we're going to do is, since we're doing that, we're going to be thinking about how the character will be speaking to people within the story. I would like you to kind of think about that a little bit and think about their face and their body and their voice. Okay, so now as we are getting into the next part of doing our dialogue, I want to remind you that I am not expecting for anybody to be perfect. This is a work in progress, that writing narrative stories can be really, really difficult, but we're going to do the best we can. And we're just going to kind of get the idea across of what our characters are going through in the time frame. So we are going to be writing our 5 scenes, and each scene will be on its own page in your writing journal. So if you look at my first scene, we are going to be doing the introduction. Each scene will be on a new page, and we wrote what our 5 scenes were on the page before, the introduction, attempt 1, attempt 2, attempt 3, and the resolution. So scene 1, that is the introduction, the motivation or struggle. And I started with an action, okay? And then my character is doing the dialogue. So we need to make sure that we are adding our dialogue in here. Father, where are you going? And I just noticed right now as I'm doing this, that I did not actually add in who was saying this. So this could kind of pose a problem. So I'm going to write down, comma, asked Abigail. So we know who it is that's doing the talking, right? It is time for me to go. The red coats are coming. The general is calling for all men to report for duty. And then I'm going to have to add who's doing this, comma, explained, father, okay? So we're going to be adding in this kind of dialogue to explain what is happening in each part of our story. This doesn't have to be very long. It just needs to kind of set the scene quickly and move from one thing to the next. After that, it says, Abigail's mothers and siblings stand around. Everyone looks so sad. Now, I have not finished my thoughts for this introduction, but I'm getting started. This is what I am looking for from you in your writing journal. We are going to start showing what is going on. Not everything will be a dialogue, but there does need to be dialogue. Characters do need to be talking, because remember, what we are doing is we are showing. We're not just telling. We're not going to say Abigail's dad left for war. That's not going to be what we did. We are going to say, what is happening. We're going to be describing it with our words and then the actions and the characters. So again, we are going to be choosing a plot, a storyline. We are going to then think about our main character, what they look like, and then we are going to start writing our scenes, a new scene for each page, and we're going to start giving you the beginning of the action, and then some of the dialogue, and then what is happening in that scene. We are going to do this for about a day or two, so let's get beginning. I will be working with you soon.